It's hard to think of an artist who's bridged punk attitude and rock stardom quite like Billy Idol. Came up in London's punk scene, crossed the Atlantic, and put his stamp on the sound and look of the 80s. He was one of MTV's first stars with his trademark snarl, leather, bleach blonde hair, and the hits came one after another. Hot in the City, White Wedding, Eyes Without a Face. He's out with a new album, Dream Into It, and is on tour right now. Billy Idol joins us in studio. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, lovely to be here.
Billy, you've been performing for about 5 decades, from London punk clubs to rock arenas, even the Hoover Dam
Yes, yes, that's right.
last year.
Yes, last
2024.
year.
When you first step onto the stage, what is that moment like for you?
Well, you always have. I don't really get nervous or anything like that. And, it's more like you get a feeling of adrenaline. It's more like anticipation. It's a bit like running a race or something. An athletic event. You're a little bit keyed up in terms of you're just ready to do your run the race.
Yeah.
So it's more that, expectation, also you want it to go well, things like that. So it's more that. But yeah, the first thing is it's excited, excited to be doing it. There's a adrenaline rush and you get high. But through the noise, just the whole thing, just the audience, everything it's a natural high that doesn't fade. You can get that every time you play.
Does it feel like meeting friends again? Because a lot of these fans have followed you for their entire lives.
I suppose it is a little bit like that. Yeah, it is a little bit like that. Yes.
Yeah. And is it still the same kind of adrenaline rush you got that you're getting now from like when you were fronting Generation X when you were in your early 20s in London?
Yeah, more or less. Except I just know a bit more what I'm about. I've it's nearly 50 years now. So next year will be 50 years. So yeah, you've just done this for a long time. So you're sort of in the flow much more than so when you started out. You weren't. You're still learning a lot. You're still learning a lot of things now. That you're still finding out things. There's always things that. You're always adjusting things or finding out where your voice is going. In terms of that's my instrument, my voice. So you're sort of discovering where it's taking you because it's not quite the same as it was when I was young. It's changed. It's enhanced itself. It's got a lot. It's a little deeper. It's a little fuller. There's more things I can do with it. There's some things I can't do, but in the majority of it is, you've watched this instrument grow, so it's exciting, because you can really use it, You've learned how to use it properly.
And is the performing still the best part of it? Because you are also a songwriter and you've written or co-written so many of your hits like White Wedding, Hot in the City, Dancing with Myself. Do you see yourself equal parts songwriter, performer?
Well, yeah, of course, because that's what we're doing. We're really sort of singing the sort of, the kind of, sort of the history of our time in a way. We're kind of singing about that, singing about our experiences throughout our life, what's going on in the past, what's going on today and what's going on tomorrow. We're kind of singing about all of that and putting our experiences into songs which are still resonating with the audience, and the new songs seem to fit well with the old songs, and the old songs don't seem to get old. That's the other thing I'd say. I'm kind of surprised they don't get boring. You would have thought, I've sung Rebel Yell a million times, you would think it would get boring, but no, actually it's actually almost more exciting. Funny enough, they've grown, and then the audience are just so into it that it's an incredible experience. It's a high that doesn't fade. It really is a natural high.
And I wonder why these songs still resonate so much. I've been thinking about it too, and I wonder if you attribute it to the fact that you are able to like blend genres. There's punk, there's rock, there's pop, there's dance, so it feels still new.
Yeah, but we grew up with very eclectic records. I mean, even sort of like a band like the Velvet Underground, even if you think about them, they didn't just do Sister Ray, or they did, ballads. They did, quite radically different songs, some art pieces, some, they did quite radically different stuff, ballads, everything, they did crazy freak out songs. So that the David Bowie. Think about the range of styles he went through, or Brian Ferry, or whoever it is. Even the Sex Pistols. They don't just do one thing somehow. Even though, anyway, we grew up with a lot of eclectic music, and I think that's what I did with my. Once I got beyond punk sort of thing, I just started to make very eclectic records myself. I mean, we did even in punk, Generation X wasn't just a one-note band. We had some very short songs, short and to the point, and then we had some kind of extravaganzas, which in the punk rock, a 5-minute song in punk rock was an extravaganza, so we even had some 5-minute songs. So we broke all the rules that were being laid down. But that's the fun of it. And somehow whatever we were doing has lasted in a great way, that somehow the songs still resonate. Something about them still, there's a truth to them, I suppose.
Yeah. And even your punk songs, they had melodic structure, right? And then I'm just wondering, that was maybe something that ticked off folks in the punk scene, but you have never really seemed to listen to the Fray. Like, what would you say to the purists who are like, this is punk, this is dance, stay in your lane?
Well, the thing is, when we were initially kind of really sort of watching what was happening at the CBGB scene, there was television and Talking Heads and Ramones. And if you even think about those three bands, Talking Heads are nothing like the television were nothing like the Ramones. So which one is punk, so we were growing up with, and Blondie, and the Dictators were nothing like Blondie, and then if you even think the Richard Hell and the Voidoids were nothing like, the Heartbreakers, so you just have to think about that, and then think about, well, that's the punk scene we were listening to, and that we were kind of, wanted a scene of our own in England, and so we weren't expecting punk to be one thing. It wasn't a uniform look or sound. Mm-hmm. So that was the thing. I think it meant your vision of what punk was what it was about. Mm-hmm. And this was my answer, was what we did in Generation X. That's kind of my answer. And then my answer to the 80s or whatever, 90s, 2000s, has been the music I've made in my solo career. Mm-hmm. I've sort of said, well, this is what I think I can add to the mix,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love you. I mean, you just kept on writing. You're promoting Dream into it. This has just been such a really eventful year for you, because you also premiered at Tribeca your documentary Billy Idol Should Be Dead. Talking about your rise to the top and some really fast living the sex, drugs, and rock and roll to the Maximus. You had this near fatal motorcycle crash, and I wonder if it's a spoiler to ask of you, why is Billy Idol not dead?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question, really. I was skirting near the edge a lot, but that was a particular period of my life. There was just like a 10-year period. I was a bit of a drug addict and stuff, and but I've always lived a little bit on the edge. It was just, I think it was part of exploring this world that we were going into, this kind of the music world, but also this, this way of living wasn't regular. It wasn't. There's no routine to it. Not really. There is, but it's not a regular routine or normal routine that most normal people. You're doing things all over the place in a way, and so we were just embracing that freedom of that kind of lifestyle that we'd sort of dreamt of, really, and then sort of discovering what your music was, finding out who you were, because that was kind of the MO, was find out who you are. I always felt David Bowie and Lou Reed and people like that, John Lennon, whoever it was, were always telling you, Joni Mitchell, I don't know, whoever it was telling you, find out who you are and be it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I did. I found out who I was, and that's what you've been listening to. Mm-hmm. This is what I thought I could bring to it. This is what I thought I could add to it,
Yeah, and you were able to extract that about yourself even through these really, real extreme highs and lows. This takes me back to actually the first video I saw of yours was "Cradle of Love," and only in just looking, reading up on that accident, I realized that you were shot from the waist up by the director David Fincher because
Yes.
you were recovering from the motorcycle crash.
Yeah, I had a cast up to my sort of thigh, right up to practically to my, I couldn't bend my leg basically. So I was able to perch on a box, as David Fincher. We didn't have an idea for this, but David Fincher had this idea about me being a sort of a picture on the wall, which would come to life in this apartment where this girl was wanted to play my new song and on this guy next door's
Oh, I
incredible
remember it well.
stereo,
Yeah.
and I could be a picture on the wall, and this way you didn't have to show me. I could just be on this box, kind of
Yeah.
leaning forward, and it would look like I'm in action. But
It did.
I was, because I couldn't move. I had this broken leg because of this motorcycle accident I'd had just a couple of months before, and I only just was out of hospital really. And but it went really great, and that was it. Yeah, it was fun. Coming up with the videos. That in that case, David Fincher came up with that idea. But a lot of the other videos, it really was coming from me in a lot of ways. I mean, that's what I felt. The music had to come from me, and the videos sort of at least the beginnings of the ideas had to come from me. So that I was setting the pace, and then like today, I mean, people kind of know what my thing is, because they've seen what I've done in the past. They kind of know what a Billy Idol video is because I set the standard way back.
Yeah.
But that's the fun of it, discovering who you are and being it is kind of, and then
Yeah.
feeling like you've got there is pretty wild too.
Yeah, and you're touring, you're very like lithe on stage, and so clearly the motorcycle crash hasn't set you back. And I'm curious, do you still ride now
Yeah, I do. Of course, you have to get back on. That's just one of those things. You just you
in
can't-
life and on the bike?
yeah.
Yeah, and where do you ride these days?
I've got a Harley Davidson Sports Glide and a Triumph Bonneville T100 that's souped up, So I've got two bikes.
Yeah, and where do you go in? Do you stay in the city or you go out the outskirts?
Yeah, or up there, we've had those fires at the Palisade and that, so it's kind of. But yeah, I used to go up and down the coast and stuff, or to Ojai. There's quite scenic up in the Padre, forest or wherever it is. There's great riding up there. It's because California. There's so many different environments there, so you really can go and see all sorts of different places.
On top of everything else this year, you were also nominated for the first time to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know always great to be nominated, but I wonder for you, what does leaving a legacy on music look like? Is it being inducted into the Hall of Fame, or is it connecting with your fans? Or
Well, it's all of those things, really. I mean, it's exciting that you might be in something like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because, I don't know, a lot of even if I think about the 1950s rockers, Buddy Holly and Little Richard and Elvis and Bo Diddley, if you even just think about those guys, wow, being in something alongside those, I mean, wow, those people really invented rock and roll. So to be included amongst them or something would be it's part of this crazy dream I'm living. It'd be incredible. I just enjoying what we're doing. I mean, we've got a great album that we've made they put out this year, Dream Into It, and it's all going really well. The tour's been fantastic. We did a tour with Joan Jett. It's all been going really well, and it's not over. We're going to go down and play in South America in November. So.
And your music continues to be discovered. You've collaborated with Miley Cyrus, who said you gave her the permission to make music that people enjoy. I'm paraphrasing her, but I think she said you married rebellion with incredible hooks. And she's clearly a kindred spirit. I'm wondering, who else are you listening to these days who you have a connection with in terms of music?
Who else am I? Well, I have listened to a little bit of Youngblood, really, just because he's kind of blowing up at the moment. I actually performed with him in England, and so I've sort of been listening to some of his stuff. But I listen to a lot of reggae, a lot of old reggae, roots reggae music from the sort of 70s, 80s, dance hall and that. So I listen to some soul music, and stuff like that. So, some new stuff. A couple of years ago, I was listening to Post Malone and seeing what he was doing, and it's fun seeing what's going on out there, and
Yeah.
some of the new music is interesting. It's kind of really wild. It's almost like electronic music. A lot of the sort of techno music today, it's like very electronic. I mean, we're sort of sticking to the rock and roll thing because I think there's so much electro music out there that, in a way, what you want from me is great rock and roll. In a way, I mean, we've always combined techno music with rock and roll music, but on this album we did stick to. The majority of it is rock and roll music.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we'll do that next time. I never do exactly the same thing twice. So.
No. And that's what we love about you. And I just want to say that I was going to bring up Youngblood because I think in many ways he is a spiritual descendant, not only in his aesthetics and how he looks like you, especially from the 80s, but also in his genre crossing as well. So
yeah, that's right. I do see a lot of myself in him. I mean, I can see a number of performers in him. He's sort of morphed a number of us together in a way. But it's kind of fantastic. It's great seeing people excited about a performer like him. And someone who's that excited about rock and roll music or music in general, and just even him having his festival, the Blood Fest. It's just very exciting. Young people enjoying what they're doing and loving the music they make. I mean, I can see that with Charlie XCX and some of the other, I don't know, they seem to be loving what they do, and that speaks to me that they're being who they are, and they care about that. They care about what they're doing, and that's exciting.
Yeah, that bleeds through. Well, Billy, it was so lovely speaking with you. I hope you have an awesome rest of the tour in South America.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I've had a fantastic time. Thank you.
Thank you.